Just getting to our cameras, but we are reporting at this hour that 80% of the lookups for a Trump Organization server came from the largest private bank in Russia, Alfa Bank. 99% of those lookups came from Alfa Bank and a company led by the Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos's husband. Experts are telling us this is, quote unquote, plain weird. What's your reaction?
Well, this is more calls for us to have a joint intelligence hearing on this matter to unearth necessary truths. And I think it goes along the lines of the kinds of maneuvering that we're seeing from the Trump administration, the kinds of unfortunate gamesmanship and untruths that we're seeing. And so as we dig more deeper into this matter, I think we'll see a lot that may shock the American people.
And so when you say a lot that may shock the American people, may I ask you what happened today? What do you know after the meetings? The other breaking news, of course, at this hour was that the FBI Director Comey came and briefed members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. You're on the House Intelligence Committee. Can you tell us anything about what he said?
I'm not at liberty to speak about that matter at this point, but I look forward to the public hearing on the 20th.
All right. So you think there's more when you say things that shock the American people? Are you saying that sort of as guesswork, or are you saying that because at this time you are aware of information that is not in the public domain that would shock the American people? Well,
I'm saying it in terms of Mr. Trump's denials that he did not have contact with the Russian ambassador, his blaming President Obama for essentially creating a criminal, enforcing a criminal or directing a criminal act against himself and the American people. Look. Laws have been created since President Nixon to prevent any president from issuing these kinds of directives. And so I think that Mr. Trump's remarks against President Obama were very unfortunate. And for me, who proudly represents Indiana's 7th Congressional District and sits on the Intelligence Committee, who comes from the Indiana Department of Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, as a former police officer, I'm deeply disappointed that Mr. Trump is fanning the flames of disillusionment, not only with the Americans' trust in the media, but the American people's trust in the IC, the intelligence community.
So on this issue of wiretapping, when you're talking about what President Trump has alleged that President Obama did, right? He said he wiretapped him. The former National Intelligence Director, James Clapper, and the FBI Director, Jim Comey, as you are well aware, both said that they have no knowledge of any such wiretap. Can you definitively say from your briefings that it did not happen?
Well, what I will say as André Carson is that I think we can trust President Obama's word. I think we can trust Director Clapper's word in this regard, as well as Director Comey's word in this regard. Look, I think that this is right out of Vladimir Putin's playbook. I think to sow dissensions within our intelligence community, within our law enforcement community, and within the trust that the American people have in our government and electoral process. And so President Trump is playing into the hands of the Russian government by constantly making these disparaging remarks against not only the media, but the intelligence community.
So here's what we know so far, Congressman, and I just want, as people are trying to be people are justifiably confused, right? There's who knows how many investigations going on, and who knows who's actually pursuing them, and who knows what, right? Here's what we know. We know multiple Trump associates met with the Russian ambassador in brief meetings. We know that Trump's former campaign manager had long professional ties to Russia. As another example, we now know, of course, about this server possible communication, because we don't know that the servers actually talked. We know there was attempted communication. So far, there is no smoking gun pointing directly to Donald Trump or to collusion with the Russians. How long will you keep searching? Are you confident that there is a smoking gun here?
I'm confident in the political process. I'm confident in the ranking members and chairs of the committees of jurisdiction, especially the House Intelligence Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee, and that we are working in a bipartisan way to get to the bottom of this.
So when it comes to the tax returns, I don't know if you heard, but the Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein said that President Trump's tax returns could be subpoenaed as part of this investigation. And she said, her quote was, the tax returns became a primary lead into a Russia connection, and that would be Russian money in his businesses. He's visited Russia 6 times by his own voice on television. Who knows what the situation is? Do you agree with her when it comes to a subpoena for the tax returns?
I'm in absolute agreement with the senator.
In absolute agreement. And right now, are you aware of an investigation to Donald Trump himself? I don't know if you know, but the press secretary, Sean Spicer, now for 2 days in a row, when we, the media, have asked him questions about this, has said that there's no reason to think that Donald Trump himself is under investigation. Do you think otherwise, or have any reason to think otherwise?
At this point, we're looking into all matters from sources and the information that we get. And no matter how long it takes, if it takes days, if it takes weeks, if it takes months, we hope to get to the bottom of this. You know, the founding fathers, as complicated as they were very wise in establishing 3 separate branches of government to act as a check and balance. And also with the press or the media acting as the fourth estate to hold everyone accountable. And so I think that we have to hold on to these entities and not allow this administration to distract us from the mess that is happening right before our eyes.
Congressman Carson, thank you for your time tonight.
What a pleasure.